At 6 o'clock. We'll see you then.
At the White House, a summit meeting on balancing the federal budget.
There's an agreement that we will get this done before the end of the year.
In Israel, the murder of Prime Minister Rabin on videotape. His security forces are looking the wrong way. And on the American agenda, using animal organs to save human lives. The hope and the risk.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the 800-pound gorillas, the principal players in Washington's budget impasse. President Clinton, Senate Leader Robert Dole, and House Speaker Newt Gingrich stopped snapping at each other long enough today to seriously consider each other's proposals. And their meeting at the White House may not have ended the partial government shutdown which began last weekend, but it could be the beginning of the end. At the White House, ABC's Britt Hume.
The president was suddenly saying outright today what he had barely acknowledged before, namely that a balanced budget in 7 years, as verified by the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, is not only possible but desirable.
Our goal is to pass a credible balanced budget plan that is ultimately certified by the Congressional Budget Office, that the financial markets and the business community, the ultimate judge of this, say this is a good plan, this is going to work.
No, said the president, he's not worried about that stock market drop yesterday, but he said he would be meeting this afternoon with the Republican congressional leadership to try to break the budget impasse. Those leaders arrived this afternoon and headed into what became a 2-hour meeting with the president and his top advisors. Later, they reported that the talks will continue tomorrow, with the president participating in an effort to make a deal by the end of the year. There was, said Newt Gingrich, one important further understanding.
But the key agreement is that everything which is on the table will have been scored by CBO to be on the table. And there was an agreement that that was the only framework within which the negotiations would occur.
That's important because it would require Mr. Clinton to first adjust his own balanced budget plan to the tougher spending requirements of the Congressional Budget Office before it would be considered. But Vice President Gore said that was not what had been agreed to, and that the president's current plan as offered is eligible to be considered.
All sides did agree that the question of a temporary spending measure to get the government open again would have to await the results of tomorrow's next meeting. Unless that disagreement between Gore and Gingrich can be worked out, however, any quick reopening of the government seems unlikely. Britt Hume, ABC News, the White House.
This is John Cochran on Capitol Hill, where Republican leaders will be under pressure not to make major concessions. Pressure from true believers in the Republican Revolution, the freshmen.
Unfortunately, if it takes the leverage of shutting part of the government down at this point in American history to do it, we're going to use all the resources we have.
The message that many of us are giving our own leadership is, frankly, don't waste your time with the White House. Let's work with the conservative, moderate Democrats, people whose word we can respect.
Republicans know that polls show they got most of the blame for the last government shutdown, and that the president partly succeeded in portraying himself as the defender of Medicare and Medicaid. Today, Republicans fought back with new ads.
The truth is, Clinton doesn't want a balanced budget because he'd rather spend hundreds of billions on his liberal agenda and pet programs.
Late today, Republicans tried to embarrass the president by forcing a vote on his most recent budget proposal. Republicans knew that even Democrats would not vote for it.
The yeas are 0. The nays are 412.
Until tonight, moderate and conservative Democrats have worried that the president didn't really want a budget deal. But after today's White House talks, they feel maybe he does after all. John Cochran, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
There was an enormous sigh of relief, to say nothing of surprise, on Wall Street. That's because the Federal Reserve Board fooled just about everyone today by lowering interest rates for the second time this year, 1/4 of a point. ABC's Bob Jameson on why.
The Federal Reserve's decision to cut interest rates stunned many economists who believe the Fed would not act in the middle of a Washington budget battle, which still has uncertain consequences for the economy. But Chairman Alan Greenspan was certain of one thing. Inflation is so low, less than 3%, that the Fed could afford to stimulate the sluggish economy. Consumers, including those using credit cards for Christmas shopping, should benefit immediately. Banks began lowering the prime rate, the basis for interest charges on everything from credit cards to mortgages.
I think the Federal Reserve is looking to the prospects that this economy is going to be on a solid growth track with low inflation and low interest rates. It doesn't get much better than that.
And that's why an unprecedented ad was placed in 3 major newspapers today by chief executives of 90 powerful corporations concerned that Washington is interfering with success. The ad urged Congress and the president to compromise quickly on a balanced budget and do no further damage.
Why at a time like this, when you're already in a somewhat fragile situation, where you do have some things going with you, would you ever take a risk and play politics when the state of the economy is at stake?
Economists are also concerned that the stock market, which gained 34 points today to 5109 after losing 100 yesterday, is still vulnerable if Washington doesn't get its act together.
Well, the markets are at risk of significant further downturns, and if that happens, the economy's at risk.
And if the economy does slow down, so too would consumer and business spending, and jobs would be lost. And the problem then would not just be Washington's or Wall Street's, but Main Street's. Bob Jamieson, ABC News, New York.
Still ahead, we'll have some of the other news. The assassination of the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin caught on a home videotape. On Our American Agenda tonight, baboons as organ donors. What risk, if any, to the general public? And Richard Nixon, the movie, and the truth.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Hoover.
Nobody does it like you, the way that you do. Nobody's got the power to please me. Nobody does it like you. Puts it all together better to make it easy. Nobody does it like you. Hoover, nobody does it like you.
Build a razor with a precision groove to help the Norelco lift and cut system shave closer than ever before. And what do you get? The Norelco razor, our closest shave ever.
I love these family get-togethers.
I love Grandma's creamy Eagle Brand pumpkin pie.
Me too.
This year she made it with new Eagle Brand fat-free.
Fat-free? No way. It tastes too good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe next year we can eat it at the grown-ups table.
In Israel tonight, the only pictures that exist of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin's assassination were broadcast on Israeli national television. The scene was recorded on a home video camera by a man who was on a roof overlooking the murder scene. ABC's Hillary Brown is in Tel Aviv.
Millions of Israelis tuned in to watch this shocking record of one of the worst moments in the country's history. The 8-minute tape shows the assassin waiting quietly behind a potted plant in the parking area next to the square where Rabin had been speaking. As the Prime Minister passes him, flanked by bodyguards, the killer steps forward and fires at point-blank range. Security analysts say the tape shows how a supposedly secure area was actually wide open, though it was crawling with police and special agents.
The assassin was not only able to penetrate the area easily, he was also able to stay there, blend into the area. The officers there looked at him and thought that he was one of theirs. An appalling breach of security, and the security service is going to spend many years trying to live down this memory to no avail.
The critical error was made by the men in Rabin's protection squad, who were all facing the wrong way. Nobody was watching his back, except the assassin.
Nobody of them look around, look behind. That's what we see in the pictures.
Hours before the tape was broadcast, the confessed killer, Igal Amir, was brought into court for the first day of his trial on a charge of premeditated murder. He was chewing gum and smiling. The videotape aired tonight is the latest and most conclusive evidence of a complete breakdown of security around the Israeli Prime Minister. In fact, the Special Commission of Inquiry looking into his murder has sent letters of warning to the head of Shin Bet, Israel's legendary secret service, and 6 other officers, saying that their jobs are now on the line. Hillary Brown, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
In Bosnia today, from UNPROFOR to I-4, the UN Protection Force, which was repeatedly humiliated during the more than 3 years of war in Bosnia, is about to transfer its authority to the new NATO Implementation Force, which hopes to secure a lasting peace by next Christmas. The formal handover is tomorrow. ABC's John McCarthy is at U.S. headquarters in Tuzla.
With the airfield finally certified to operate in all kinds of weather, the pace of the American buildup quickened. The first giant C-17 transport arrived, bringing the first artillery. Tomorrow, NATO forces will officially take control from the UN of all peacekeeping in Bosnia.
No longer you will have to listen to our excuses for UN inaction or see our brightened up faces when we, the United Nations, did act decisively.
For American troops, this was a day of feverish preparation, which sometimes bordered on the absurd. These soldiers are clearing an area outside the front gate of suspected landmines. The Bosnian man who is jumping up and down in front of the soldier mows the lawn here in the summer and is trying to demonstrate that this piece of ground is already safe. At another gate, soldiers were fortifying their position and trying to sound enthusiastic. Private Janie Vessels is celebrating his 25th birthday today.
Glad to be here, that's all. Are you? Yeah, that way, only thing you have to look forward to is going home.
For this platoon, home is now this old hangar that used to house Soviet-made jet fighters. Wet gloves sizzle on heaters like hamburgers on a grill. And though the men are out of the weather, they are clearly not out of the cold. Their commanders tell them they will not have a hot meal until after Christmas and probably no mail until the new year.
There's a lot of young guys here, 19, 20 years old, just got married. And then our jobs as NCOs is to take care of these guys and bring them back.
But the focus tonight is on making sure that this first American base in Bosnia is safe, so that the bigger job of making the 3 million people who live in this country safe can finally begin. John McWethy, ABC News, Tuzla.
In Los Angeles today, 3 men have been arrested and charged with conspiring to overthrow Cuban President Fidel Castro. An FBI raid during the weekend turned up a stockpile of assault rifles, grenades, and gas masks, even night vision goggles, as well as a detailed plan to arm residents in several Cuban cities. Several British tourists picked the wrong airline flight on which to get drunk yesterday. When they became loud and abusive on a Northwest flight from London to Minneapolis, several other passengers took very serious exception. And because the other passengers were members of the U.S. Olympic wrestling team, the drunks soon found themselves handcuffed to their seats. Many airlines carry cuffs. On landing, one of the drunks was arrested. 17 others in the party were deported. We'll be back in just a moment.
We made a name for ourselves by inventing a wonder drug. And now, we're improving the diagnosis and treatment of major diseases. Our energy-absorbing foams make cars safer than ever. And our crop protectants help farmers produce a more abundant food supply.
So much good we can do for each other. Oh, what a world it can be.
Bayer. In healthcare, chemicals, and imaging technologies, we cure more headaches than you think.
Presenting the newest Black & Decker Dustbuster and Morgan the Butler. With twice the power as before, this Dustbuster will pick up practically anything around the house. Morgan, the newest Dustbuster. More power, more pickups.
Every holiday season at Mailboxes, etc., 2 customers bring in 30 dozen shortbread cookies for us to package and ship for them.
I do most of the cutting and she does all the finishing touches. And we both watch the oven.
They have to be packaged very carefully.
They don't even jiggle. They don't juggle. They fix them, stabilize them.
They got their all in one piece.
Not even a grain of sugar off.
Depend on Mailboxes, etc. It's not what we do, it's how we do it.
This year, we've surprised more winners than ever.
My gosh!
But next month, you could win the big one.
Sunday, January 28th, Publishers Clearinghouse will surprise a new $10 million winner on TV. Your chance to win is in the mail.
In 1866, the world's first dynamo was invented by Werner Siemens. It began the revolution that brought electricity to everyone. That was then. This is now. The generation, distribution, and control of energy are at the heart of Siemens today, where you work, live, and play. And with 45,000 people at work nationwide, Siemens is leading the way into the next century. Siemens, precision thinking.
Tonight on Nightline, the Whitewater affair and the First Lady. If it's really much ado about nothing, then why are so many who are so close to Hillary Clinton so forgetful? That's our focus on Nightline tonight.
On the American agenda tonight, we're going to address a very serious question about medical research. Last week, an AIDS patient received a transplant of bone marrow from a baboon. Other doctors are already planning other types of organ transplants from animals. We put this on the agenda because of the possible, emphasis on possible, medical risks to the general population. Our agenda reporter is George Strait.
Hold that gently like that, not too hard.
It's 3 a.m. Surgeon Robert Mitchler is just starting the painstaking job of replacing Michael DelGardio's diseased heart with a healthy one.
I'm very nervous about it, but I can't wait.
Mr. DelGardio is very lucky.
About a third of the patients who are listed for heart transplantation will die while on that waiting list, and that is unacceptable to me.
To keep patients alive until a human organ is found, Dr. Mitchler and other surgeons are planning to use organs from baboons.
The baboon fulfills many good criteria for us. The first is that the anatomy and the physiology is very similar to the human condition.
In 1984, the first attempt to transplant baboon organs failed. But new surgical techniques and anti-rejection drugs have spurred renewed interest. So when AIDS patient Jeff Getty received baboon bone marrow last week, it was in hopes that those cells would help him fight off HIV.
He tolerated the transplant well. He did not have an allergic reaction.
But transplants from animals to humans worry many scientists. They fear the operation may put the general population at risk, exposing them to some new and deadly infectious agent harbored by baboons. Even the Food and Drug Administration, the agency that regulates these operations, is concerned.
This type of transplantation is new. It poses dangers that we simply don't understand yet.
This is the danger. Baboons naturally carry a number of viruses and other microorganisms that can cause diseases in humans. Scientists can't protect us against most of the viruses they know about. But these animals likely harbor hundreds of unknown agents. And no one knows what might happen if they get into humans. Many scientists fear the worst.
We're risking a new AIDS epidemic.
Dr. John Allen of the prestigious Southwest Primate Center was one of the scientists who showed that the AIDS virus came from a monkey. He says that's the best example of how a virus can be harmless in one species, but lethal when it gets into another.
It's only when they jump into another species that one might find disease. That's what happened with AIDS. That's what we're concerned about with a baboon to human transplant.
But Dr. Leonard Bailey, the surgeon who performed the first baboon to human transplant, says the suggestion that these operations might cause some new epidemic is unfounded.
It's theoretical. It hasn't been proven. In fact, a great deal of effort has gone into trying to prove that theory without success.
Theory or not, there are many cases where viruses that naturally occur in animals are lethal in man.
Look at Daddy. He would have done a good daddy.
3 years ago, Caroline Pollock's husband, Bill, who was a veterinarian, was killed by a monkey virus researchers thought was harmless. There are many other examples. Last year in Australia, 2 people died after being infected with a previously unknown horse virus. And a few months ago, researchers discovered a new, potentially lethal virus here among the baboons whose organs will be used for human transplants.
We don't know how many animals are infected. We don't know how to screen for it.
That's something that could get into humans.
Yes.
The FDA acknowledges the potential dangers, but will allow baboon to human transplants to continue.
We know a lot more about prevention. We know a lot more about containment of outbreaks. So I think we are better prepared this time should an adverse event happen.
The stakes are enormous, because if the FDA is wrong, it could lead to another AIDS-like epidemic. Instead, the agency is betting the potential benefit of using these animals as a source of organs outweighs the risk. This is George Strait for the American Agenda.
And in a moment, we'll have the other news. Hillary Clinton and the Whitewater investigation.
Finally, great popcorn from your microwave.
Power Pop.
Presto Power Pop Microwave Multi-Popper.
Power Pop.
Pops virtually every kernel. Pop with oil, pop without oil. Nothing pops like Power Pop. That's why it's endorsed by Orville Redenbacher.
Power Pop.
From Presto.
Salad shooter helps you every day.
How about some cheese for your pizza or perfect salad shooter hash browns for breakfast? Vegetables sliced or shredded, and nothing tops a salad like
Salad shooter.
Slicer Shredder from Presto.
Helps you every day.
What should you do when a simple anti-wrinkle cream is no longer enough?
Look for the most advanced products.
L'Oreal has created Plenitude Revitalift, double performance anti-wrinkle plus firming care. With Pro-Retinol A, Revitalift reduces the appearance of wrinkles.
Your skin will look smoother.
With Paralasto, Revitalift increases skin's firmness.
You'll see firmer skin.
See results in just 1 week. New Plenitude Revitalift from L'Oreal reduces the signs of aging.
I'm glad you made it to the reunion. Oh, I can't believe it's been 20 years. Oh. You okay? I could use some Tylenol. Here. Oh, ibuprofen? No, I can't. I had an ulcer. Really? My husband had an ulcer. Oh, he should be careful. My doctor says ibuprofen can aggravate an ulcer. Tylenol just works great.
If you're using ibuprofen, Tylenol may be safer for you. Talk to your doctor.
20 years later, you're still giving me the answers. Are you ever going to listen?
President Clinton signed legislation into law today that will change the way tens of thousands of lobbyists do business in Washington. Under the new law, lobbyists will be required to register their clients, disclose the issues they are lobbying for, and report how much they are paid for their work. It is the first serious change in the lobbying laws in 50 years. At the Whitewater hearings in Congress this week, there has been increasing attention paid to Mrs. Clinton's credibility. A congressional committee has been concentrating on whether she told the truth about a failed savings and loan owned by a man, James McDougal, who was also a partner in the Clintons' Whitewater real estate venture. Here's ABC's Barry Serafin.
The questions center on Mrs. Clinton's role as an attorney in the Rose Law Firm in Little Rock in the mid-1980s, specifically her work on behalf of Madison Guarantee. Mrs. Clinton has said she played a very limited role in representing Madison Guarantee before state regulators. In a 1994 press conference, she said the bulk of the work was left to an associate in her law firm.
The young attorney, the young bank officer did all the work. It was not an area that I practiced in. It was not an area that I really know anything to speak of about.
But now the Senate Whitewater Committee has released notes taken in 1992 by Susan Thomases, a lawyer and close friend of the First Lady, indicating that Mrs. Clinton did far more work for Madison Guarantee than previously acknowledged. The notes, based on Thomas's conversations with the Rose Law Firm partner, say Mrs. Clinton had numerous conferences with Madison Guarantee officials, reviewed some documents, and met with the state regulator. Frustrated committee investigators say the law firm's actual billing records and timesheets have disappeared.
Where are the bills? Where are the Madison records? Where were they? Where did they go? And if we don't get them all, what happened to them?
The committee also continues to investigate whether aides or associates of Mrs. Clinton removed documents from Deputy White House counsel Vincent Foster's office after his death in 1993. And whether his files may have contained more information about her ties to Madison Guarantee. Committee Chairman Alphonse D'Amato says he does not plan to call Mrs. Clinton as a witness, but the panel's focus on the First Lady is growing more intense. Barry Serafin, ABC News, Washington.
Here in New York City today, 5 people were shot and killed in the course of a robbery. A man who tried to steal a pair of boots reportedly started shooting inside the shoe store. The gunman was shot by police as he ran from the store. He is in critical condition. In California today, a judge ruled that O.J. Simpson must turn over information about his financial assets to the family of Ronald Goldman, which is suing Mr. Simpson for the death of their son. The family argued they had to know what Simpson was worth in order to know how much to seek in damages. Back in a moment.
Presenting the newest Black & Decker Dustbuster and Morgan the Butler. With twice the power as before, this Dustbuster will pick up practically anything around the house. Morgan, the newest Dustbuster. More power, more pickups.
How much closer are our precision heads? Our innovative lift and cut system? How much better is the latest Norelco? In a word, we've never brought you closer. The Norelco Razor, our closest shave ever.
I just wasn't satisfied with how my arthritis pain medicine was working. Then my doctor told me about Arudis.
82% of doctors surveyed have prescribed Arutis, and now it's available in a non-prescription strength. Potent new Arutis KT. Just 25 milligrams is as effective as 400 milligrams of Motrin IB, 440 of Aleve, or 1,000 milligrams of extra-strength Tylenol.
Now for my minor arthritis pain, I've got Arutis KT.
New Arutis KT, the potent medicine for pain.
This is Emily. She's writing a book report on a PC with an Intel Pentium processor inside. The Pentium processor has the power to make software look, sound, and feel more real, making Emily's homework assignment feel more like a field trip. The Intel Pentium processor.
Finally from us this evening, Historical Accuracy and Oliver Stone. A new movie by the Hollywood director opens tomorrow. It is called Nixon. As with his earlier movie about John F. Kennedy, this film raises questions about Mr. Stone's relationship with the truth. Here's ABC's Judy Muller.
You can't impeach me for bombing Cambodia. The president can bomb anybody he likes.
Cut. If you combine one of the most controversial presidents in U.S. history with one of the most controversial filmmakers, what do you get? Controversy.
A lot of people undoubtedly will accept Nixon as a historic truth, which it is only partly. And the part that is not the historic truth would be called libelous if there was somebody alive to sue for libel.
Mr. Nixon's family agrees. Even though they have yet to see the film, they called the script a malicious attempt to defame and degrade President and Mrs. Nixon. They were especially upset with a scene which hints that Nixon was involved in the attempt to overthrow and assassinate Fidel Castro.
And what is this Bay of Pigs thing? It goes white every time you mention it.
Several Nixon biographers also expressed outrage at that reference, saying it is unsupported by the evidence. And they criticized the film for exaggerating Mr. Nixon's drinking habits and his use of foul language. Director Oliver Stone had this to say today.
You know, I think history is open to question, and I think that we take sometimes unofficial and dissident points of view, and, you know, it angers some establishment historian types.
Stone was widely criticized for JFK, which suggested that the government was involved in a conspiracy to assassinate President Kennedy. But this film, say many critics, is much less dogmatic.
Nixon is a much less political film than JFK. It is much more of a portrait and much less propaganda.
John Dean, played by David Hyde Pierce, was a consultant on the film. He says Richard Nixon is always going to be a mystery, ripe for multiple interpretations.
Provoked a lot of thoughts about the man I hadn't had, and I think that's what he is. I think he's a provocateur as an artist and a director.
Provocative. On that, they all agree. Judy Muller, ABC News, Los Angeles.
And that is our report on World News Tonight. Later on Nightline, Whitewater, and the First Lady. I'm Peter Jennings. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Tuesday, Jill knows when Brad's been good or bad.
What did you do to get detention? Nothing.
But Tim doesn't have a clue.
You believe that?
It's terrible. Teachers are still given detention for nothing. Home Improvement. Then the Breakers are on Monday Night Football, and it's do or die.
It's Frank and Al and Dan!
So Luther gets a do that's